Gender-based violence has been a major concern globally. More worrisome is the fact that victims and survivors hardly speak up. Welcome to Edo Executive Platform. I'm glad to be with you this morning. Felix Osagire is my name, and as usual, I'm not alone. My partner Sarah is here. Partner, good morning.
Good morning, Felix. The way you said partner.
Yes.
Good morning and welcome to Edo Executive Platform. Today brings an end to the 16-day global campaign against violence against women and girls. It's a very amazing campaign so far, and I'm so excited to be talking about these issues that are gender-based, that causes gender-based violence, particularly that of women and girls. My name is Ngubo Sarah. Thank you for joining us today.
All right, as you know, Edo Executive Platform is a program where we talk about government activities. We unveil government strategy in developing Edo State. Today's edition promises to be very, very interesting because major stakeholders in the area of the fight against gender-based violence are in the house. They'll be joining us very, very shortly. After the break, we'll bring them aboard. But first of all, we'll take our news track now to let you know some of the things that they played out in the outgoing week. After the break, we'll do that. Don't go away. On the front burner this week was the issue of irregular migration, and that's the first story we'll be bringing to you this morning. It says, Obaseki blames poor economic circumstances of the nation, talking about irregular migration. Of course, you know, the issue of migration has been a major issue, especially irregular migration. And because of the poor economic reality that we face today, our youth now seek greener pasture elsewhere. Let's take the news on that, and we'll be right back.
So you are devoting your time, your resources, and your energy to volunteer to stop people who otherwise belong there, but also to support those who need care and rehabilitation. Because you are strong now, you can help lift up those who are weaker. As a government, we want to continue to work and reduce the incidence of irregular migration and human trafficking. We will step up our activities as a government in this next phase, which we call the MMPE 2.0. That is managing migration.
What I see in this next step for them is for them to be seen as partners, which they've told the IOM. Partnership is what they're looking for, because they can help in so many ways. If we could really utilize them the way we should, we'd get so many of the traffickers here. They are partners in many ways. They are very, very useful.
We compared our children in 2021 with their performances in 2019. What we found was that after the catch-up plan, we found that in actual fact, pupils actually improved during the time between 2019 and 2020, during and after the COVID period. We had primary 1 pupils, and it will show in the graph, primary 1 pupils in 2021 reading at nearly the same levels as primary 2 pupils in 2019. We saw that this same evaluation found that an average Edo-based primary 3 pupil had foundational numeracy skills at nearly the same level as an average non-Edo-based primary 5 pupil for the same period.
So I will see 2 margins of actions in which one will need to work. One, I think, is just the improvement that you are already implementing in the quality of public schools, I mean, that will draw people from the private to the public sector, and that's good, right? That's a good development, right? And that's something that we have seen a few countries in which their public sector improved, then
It's still a Do executive platform. Sarah has more stories on regular migration.
Yeah, still on the migration, the World Bank, the United Nations International Children Fund, UNICEF, and International Organization for Migration, IOM, amongst others, have hailed Governor Godwin Obaseki for his government's impactful and life-changing reforms and programs that have continued to translate to improved livelihood. This statement was made at the project launch of the second phase of managing migration through development. Let's quickly take a listen to the story.
In the course of the last 6 years, we have welcomed very impactful partnership from different stakeholders within the country and the global community for the onerous task of reversing the trend of illegal migration and human trafficking in our state. Today, I can confidently say to all gathered here that we have made remarkable progress in this mission. We have boldly said that we have created a solid institutional and legal framework, as well as several vehicles and initiatives to support our various youthful and aspirations. We are hopefully that the second phase of this program will sustain the gain of the first and further deepen reform in place to make Edo State a place where young people can fully realize their full potentials, given the right support from government and other development stakeholders.
It's a striking example of the talent and resilience of young Nigerians. If you have a vision, you have skills, you can make it everywhere. So why not to make it here? This is our visions. I have seen how much resilient and talented the new generations are. I've heard about the stories of some returnees. It's impressive how you can make success if you have a vision. And this is why this project is in place.
The Edo State Task Force on Combating Trafficking in Human Beings was very much produced and conceptualized in Edo and then scaled up to the rest of Nigeria. Now, I think what is happening with this project is this conceptualization will come back. That's why we call it 2.0. It's responding to the modern trends, understanding what we need to change, how we need to reinvent.
Got deported 2017, so I came back to Nigeria. So after then, I was so depressed. Before I got a call from the IOM, so I went. So they placed me on 3 days business training. It was in 2018. So we are called upon for the integration. So I was reintegrated, and that integration gave me a full speed to my recovery, like full speed for me to get back on my feet.
I'm really grateful because when I return, I don't really have a hope of starting or the hope of coming up with something. Then train me on fashion, and they will be able to empower me. So I now have my store, I have plus under me, and I'm really grateful.
It's still a Do executive platform on EBS Reloaded. There is no doubt the best way to manage migration is through development, and Edo State is right on track about that. The very last on the news flash this morning is on gender-based violence, GBV. A stakeholders workshop was organized yesterday, and good enough I was there. A lot happened and I was better informed. Still on the program this morning, you'll be hearing from major stakeholders in the fight against gender-based violence. All right, let's take a listen to how the workshop played out yesterday. Her Excellency declared it open, and the Commissioner for Youth and Gender Issues was also present. And a whole lot of stakeholders were on ground yesterday. Let's take a listen to the clip.
In that first year, one of the things we came up with as a communique was that every state must set up a GBV committee, and it must be chaired by the wives of the governors. And at the same time, the Minister for Women Affairs was also pushing, and then with us doing ours, we came together, and then she took the matter to the Federal Executive Council, where the President then issued the decree. We also pushed that every state must domesticate the Violence Against People's Prohibition Act, which had been promulgated many, many years ago, but very few states had implemented in their states. At the time, Edo had already implemented, because we did ours in 2017.
We took upon ourselves that we must institutionalize things like this to make them permanent and legal, so that the judiciary also, arms will not be tied against taking certain decisions. We are also aware that for these things to work out, sitting at the table just now, I got some comment. Associations have to also play their role. And so all of us have a duty to make gender-based violence actually free in our society.
2020, the Edo State Sexual Offenders Register was launched through the support of Her Excellency. And as we speak, we have secured so far 39 convictions with over 254 reported cases. The Edo State government is very committed in dealing with this problem of gender-based violence. In our 2023 budget, we have allocations specifically for the activities of the Edo State Gender-Based Management Committee under the leadership of Her Excellency.
All right, it's still a Edo executive platform on EBS Reloaded. The last clip happens to be the summary or the highlight of the workshop that happened yesterday as regards gender-based violence, organized by GIZ in partnership with Ministry of Youth and Gender Issues. All right, very shortly, we're going to be playing host to very important personalities. Talking about the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth and Gender Issues, Dr. Peter Osage. He'll be joining us very shortly. We also have the initiator of Sothawaca, Ronke Ojikere. These are major stakeholders that will be joining us to discuss the issue of gender-based violence this morning. Don't forget that today marks the end of the 16-day activity for the 2022 commemoration of the fight against gender-based violence. There's no better time to talk about GBV, and the Ministry of Youth and Gender Issues will be telling us more about their efforts and activities in the fight against gender-based violence. After this break, we will unveil our special guest this morning. Please don't go away. All right, this is Edo Executive Platform, and a while ago I had said we'll be playing host to some very important personalities, and they are here already. We have in the house this morning Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth and Gender Issues, Dr. Peter Osage. So we're glad to have you on Edo Executive Platform.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
All right. We also have Ronke Ojikere, is the initiator of Sothawaca. We are glad to have you on a dual executive platform this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
All right. Ronke Ojikere is an advocate of the rights, welfare, and development of women, children, and youths, and the elderly. It's all encompassing. Honestly, for me, there is no better time to talk about gender-based violence. And I know for many years the issue was underreported, and now the global community is now putting up effort to ensuring that the fight is intensified. I know you have a lot to say. All right, let me start from the Permanent Secretary. Please tell us, what has been the effort of your ministry as regards the issue of gender-based violence?
Well, thank you very much. The Ministry of Youth and Gender Issues is actually the secretariat for the GBV Management Committee, headed by the First Lady of Edo State, Her Excellency Mrs. Bessie Obaseki. And the ministry, like you mentioned earlier, is Ministry of Youth and Gender Issues. So that gives you the kind of understanding that we are in the forefront of the fight against gender violence, gender inequality, anything that would affect or put us in bad light as far as gender issues are concerned are being handled squarely by the ministry through the gender department.
All right. I want to also ask the initiator of Sothawaca. Please, I know our viewers want to know. Sothawaca is an acronym. What's the full meaning?
Yeah, Sothawaca indeed is an acronym. It's I tell people when they ask me, I say it's a whole sentence. Sothawaca simply means Society to Heighten Awareness of Women and Children Abuse. It's a non-governmental organization that is recognized by the United Nations in the sense that we have the United Nations ECOSOC Special Consultative Status. Away from this, I am also a member of the Edo State Gender-Based Violence Committee and the Technical Working Group. So probably that's my portfolio, and talking about issues that have to do with gender-based violence. Like you know, we heighten awareness. That's one of the things that we do. That's why we always speak about it. That's why we always advocate about it. That's why we always say that anything about violence against women, children, now it is gender. Gender, because we know that whatever happens to a woman, trust me, is happening to the male gender. So we're not just talking about the male, the female now, although the 16 days of activism has to do with special concentration of women and the girl child. So we're here, we're talking about it. My organization, Sothawaca, is on the registration with the ministry. Then it was Ministry of Women Affairs and Gender Issues. Now that the ministry has splitted up, we are now under both the Ministry of Gender, Youth and Gender, and then the Ministry of Humanitarian. So we do issues about gender-based violence, everything that has to do with gender.
Okay, this is to our PS. Now, there's been a lot of misconception about this whole gender-based violence, and some persons has limited it to just assault. Would you say gender-based violence is just about assault alone? What constitutes gender-based violence?
Okay, when we talk about gender-based violence, it's beyond assault. Maybe you are talking about physical assault this time around. It's beyond that. It's a whole lot of cocktail, for how to use that word. It encompasses rape, when you maltreat widows, physical attack, like you are talking about assault, emotional punishment, from a man to the wife or from the wife to the man, as the case may be. So all these, then of course, forceful injection. Maybe a man dies, before you know it, the family comes together and say, oh, this woman must leave our brother's house. It is a gender-based violence. So I think people, the earlier people are aware of all these, the better for all of us, because all these, if they are reported, they will be investigated, they will be tried, and there are consequences. So it's a broader issue than just physical assault.
When you were speaking, I was listening to you, but my question is, what would you say is a reason for the high rates of violence against women and girls?
Presently?
Yes.
We must all understand that gender-based violence against women and girls is not an Edo State issue. It's not a Benin City issue. It's not a Nigerian issue. It is a global issue. Everybody around the world, if you pick up the papers, there must be something that will be reported in the paper against either rape, physical abuse, female genital mutilation, maltreatment of women and children and the girl child. So because of this awareness, like what we're doing now, everybody will be listening not just because it is an executive platform, listening because they want to understand more about what it is government has to do. What role are they playing? What role is the media playing? What role are the NGOs and the CBOs and the CSOs? What roles are they playing? So every day we are talking. We are not just keeping quiet, we are talking. And when people hear that, you know what, we can report these cases no matter how inconsequential we think it is, we can report these cases, we can get justice, people can be penalized, people can be punished about all of these things. So the increase in the spate of gender-based violence is because now people are opening their mouths, people are talking. Okay. Back in the day, it was looked at as a taboo.
Yes.
That a man cannot go to report his wife that his wife struck him. Many cases that we listen to in the SAC center, you hear, thank God there's a place for us to come so that people can listen to us away from our families. Nobody will be judging them. You have counselors in the SAC center that listens. And if the woman is wrong, trust me, straight away, madam, you are wrong in this aspect. You understand? So it is that awareness that is going on. And then with the VAP law that His Excellency, Mr. Governor, signed into law, everybody is coming out. It wasn't as if it was underreported. Okay. People were coming out. But when it's time to let us push further, you will hear our family says, But now, that same VAP law says, the family who decides that they want to sweep the thing under the carpet, we want to settle. There's also a provision in that same VAP law. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to be quoting. There's also a section in that same VAP law that says if you cover up, if you are part of those who will say let us settle, there's also a punishment for you. So now that we know that such things are in existence, people are coming out, both the males, both the females, and we all know that gender is not a woman thing. It is both for men and both for the women.
As an initiator of an NGO, you've worked in different parts of the state of the country, even outside. And I want you to assess this current administration in terms of Edo State. Do you think they are living up to? They are really coming out for this campaign against this violence against gender? Do you think Edo is setting the pace in terms of the fight?
I would say yes, not because I am a member of the committee. I would say that Edo has taken issues of gender-based violence and put it on the front burner. Okay. Just like we know that irregular migration and human trafficking, right? Though we had the laws back in the day, but we have put it in the front burner. It is now there. You speak about, Edo used to be #1 when it had to do with irregular migration and human trafficking. But you can see that we are now at the barest minimum because people are coming back every day. I go back home. I go back home. You know, same thing as gender-based violence. I would like for you to go to the SAC Center and see the magnitude of reports that come in on a very regular basis. I have my counselor there. I work out of my office. Reports come to me on a very regular basis, and I can tell you, they have NGOs even in the different senatorial areas, and you are getting reports coming in, referrals are coming in and coming in. It is because of the fact that these things have been put on the back burner, on the front burner, and we are not just sitting back. Even the police knows that if for peradventure we go and we say, Madam, police is not wanting to play ball. Police is saying this. She will call, she will tell you, don't worry, we will act on it. So the fact that people are coming out, you know, the fact that people are reporting, the fact that we are getting convictions, we should tell you that our report card is not saying 1/100. Our report card is almost saying 85-90% over 100. Is that a pass mark? Yes, it is a pass mark for me.
Well, if you are the one marking, of course there is this tendency that you shoot it off.
No. Even people who are listening to me would know that I am not just talking because I want to. Okay. I'm talking because this is what I believe in. This is my passion. People always ask me, so when do you have time for yourself?
Well, it's obvious though, that is to say the least. Permanent Secretary, sir, the data that was released yesterday at the stakeholders workshop shows that the issue of gender-based violence is on the increase. And I know the global community is galvanizing efforts, and those states is really doing a lot to ensuring that these issues are arrested. In specific terms, what are really the efforts to check this trend?
Okay, I think I should address the issue of the
data.
The data, yes. Well, like we discovered yesterday, that data wasn't complete.
Okay.
Because what I saw on the board yesterday was 37 convictions. I was like,
PSR, not the data as regards Edo State figures.
No, not Edo State.
I'm talking about
the general
global data that is increasing.
Let's talk about Nigeria.
Okay.
Talk about 37.
Yes.
I was like, what's happening here? In Edo State, as at before today, we already have 40.
Okay.
So somebody talk about 37.
It's not updated.
It's not updated. And for me, I don't think the phenomenon is increasing.
Okay.
True.
It's not increasing. We are getting more enlightened. Now, what you think is causing an increase is because now the government is taking it up as a priority project. Okay? The laws are there. Like we talk about our SAC Center, you have police, you have civil defense, you have counselors, you have the NGOs, you have the doctor, the pharmacist. So it's a one-stop shop for GBV issues. So you don't find that if somebody knows that kind of facility exists, it's easy for the person to come out and want to report his or her experience. So because people are now reporting, people are getting more enlightened, so you might think that the cases are increasing.
Okay.
The truth of the matter is that in the days of darkness, it was worse. Where people could justify violence against women and girls. You know, those days you say, there's a common cliche, it says you are dressed the way you are dressed.
Yeah.
So if a girl is not properly dressed, you assault her on the streets. You don't have that right. So because the laws are there, you now think, oh, the cases are increasing. No, it's the reporting. We are now shedding light on the dark alleys, and you can see all the things happening in darkness. That's why you feel it's increasing. So for me, I would rather say we are making progress when it comes to resolving the issue of GBV.
Well, I see from a very reasonable point that you're making. Really, campaigns are everywhere now. People are now getting enlightened, both on social media, terrestrial media. It is the enlightenment and the campaign that is rather increasing, not the crime, so to speak, as it were. All right, I think that is understood. Well, yesterday, Her Excellency frowned at the figures that was released, and she didn't really take it lightly, and people were worried, like you just mentioned, if something is happening, something massive like this is happening in Edo State, and somebody is underreporting it, is not good at all. Now that issue has been identified that there is no regular update as regards the efforts of Edo State. What are you looking at? What do you intend to do to ensure that what happened yesterday in the area of data that is not consistent? What are you doing so that regular update and regular information as regards efforts in Edo State will be out there in the public domain?
Okay, let me say this. Before now, till now, we report through NAPTIP, but the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, they are saying, oh, they have a dashboard that we should report to.
Okay.
So immediately after the stakeholders meeting yesterday, I actually met with a few people. My director of policy, planning, research and statistics, the director of gender issues, and one of the staff at the SAC Center who have been trained on this data management. So on the 19th of this month, we are going to be having a step-down training. And we want to now log on to the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs website, so that at every point in time we are harmonizing our reports. Even as it goes to NAPTIP, it should also go to the Federal Ministry, so that we, by the grace of God, by the time we are having our 16 days of activism next year, even by March, when we are having the International Day of the African Child, because the child and the women, they go together as a celebration.
Yeah, of course.
So by the time we're having that, whatever data that will be brought forward would have been harmonized. I can assure you that.
To be accurate.
Yes, to be accurate.
Now, the society plays a very key role in terms of this gender-based violence. So, what effort is your committee putting in place, to reach out to traditional heads, community leaders, religious body in this campaign against gender-based violence?
Beautiful. You cannot enter any community without having first to see the community leader, who we term as the gatekeepers. We need their buy-in into all of this, because who is it that calls his people? Who is it that these people run to? Who is it that they say is the custodian of culture, and tradition? Those people. So anytime we go out to do sensitization, we have them in place. And I refer to the campaign last year that we did. We went to the 3 senatorial districts of Edo State. We went to Edo North, when we were in the Auchi axis, and we had all the community heads from all the from all the local governments that make up Edo North. If you know, Edo North is like a tripod thing where you have the Esakos, we have the Owans, and we have Akoko Edo.
Sure.
All their leaders were present in that function. We also had religious bodies. We also had the market women.
Okay.
And we took our campaign there. We had the children were present at that thing. And on that day was the day that the ambassador thing on children, having children to be in schools as the eyes of government, we had that launch done that day. So when we take campaigns, if me as a small organization, I take a campaign to any community where I'm working for, the first thing I do is I want to have the buy-in from the local government, from the traditional rulers. Because if you don't get the buy-in, your message is dead on arrival.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. So we have their buy-in, and those traditional rulers are now like champions for the thing that we are doing. How do we do it? We tell them that even if it is not happening to you in your home, it is happening to somebody who you know.
Yes.
So if you are there saying you are a traditional ruler and people in your domain are suffering, then you are not a good traditional ruler, because they are the ones that have the knife, the yam, and the pot. So it is what they say that goes. Because many people in the rural community, they still believe in the old-time culture and tradition. What we should now be addressing is for our traditional rulers. It's very difficult for them, but for our traditional rulers to start looking at those things that they were holding as myths and all of that, to start trying to help us break it. What is bad is bad. So they are actually part of this campaign. Anywhere you go, for the last year when we went, everywhere we went to, we had the traditional rulers. And I'm sure, I wasn't around yesterday, but I'm sure that even yesterday, we must have had a handful of traditional rulers from across board listening to what we had to say about gender-based violence.
Okay. Pierre, when you talk about gender-based violence, people tend to look the direction of women and the girl child. So does that mean that, you know, the boy child, you know, or men are not assaulted as well? So just throw more lights on that.
Well, on the lighter mood, I would say the Bible says that the woman is the weaker vessel. So we need to protect our mothers, our sisters, and our daughters. However, I must say that we grew up, or we've been trained that the man is not supposed to complain when he's having emotional attack. Yes, that's the training.
The culture.
That's the culture.
Yes.
But you know, we are not telling men don't die in silence.
Speak out.
You can't speak out. You know, young men are at the age of 40, they are developing high blood pressure at an alarming rate. It is because a lot of them are being psychologically assaulted and they are bottled up. So because of the tension within their being, they are having this crisis. So we are appealing to the boys. Boys are being assaulted. Even there was a case where the father assaulted his son sexually. Yes, not in America. You know, right here amongst us. So we need to continue to speak, even as we are speaking now. If you are a man, if you are a boy, and you are being assaulted, you don't understand what this person is doing to you, please speak up. It's not the fact that you speak up doesn't mean you have criminalized somebody. The issue will be investigated, and if it's found to be true, then the person goes in for it. That will make our society better. Like the First Lady said yesterday, there are some people that should be in the zoo.
Yes.
So if you don't speak up, these people will continue to live amongst us. So we are encouraging men, boys, and fathers, speak up when you're having psychological issues.
I know that as the program progresses, you are going to give out details on how these reports, can be coordinated, where they should come in case there are issues. Now, just like in Edo State, most states of the Federation, the first ladies, the wife of the governors, are usually the chairpersons, heading the committee against for the fight against gender-based violence. Coming to Edo State now, how are you collaborating? The Office of the First Lady, the Ministry of Youth and Gender Issues. Then you also talked about the fact that you are working with 2 ministries, and I know the legal aspect of it also has to do with, maybe Ministry of Justice. How are you collaborating? What has been the collaborative effort, and how are you faring?
Yeah, a lot has been mentioned already in that regards. The First Lady is our trailblazer. She's sold out to this fight. She wants to see a better and egalitarian society for both the women and the men. So the committee is there. She heads the committee. And I mentioned earlier too that the ministry, I'm the secretary right now as PS, I'm secretary to the committee. So there's an interface between the GBV MC and the ministry. The First Lady as head of the committee is very, very strategic. As First Lady of the state, she has influence, and beyond her influence, she has this drive. So we collaborate because we are the ministry. Like I told you before, we have a full department dedicated to gender issues, and that shows in the name of the ministry. So we have committee meetings together, we have programs together. Even the one where the stakeholders meeting we had yesterday was not just between GIZ and the ministry, was GIZ, the ministry, and the GBV management committee. So we're always working together hand in hand.
All right, it's still a Edo executive platform, and we're still discussing with the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth and Gender Issues, Dr. Peter Osage, and we still have the initiator of Sothawaca, Ronke Ojikere. The program continues. Please don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Edo Executive Platform on EBS. The conversation is still ongoing, and we're still very much around. And we are here with the initiator of Sothawaca, Ronke Ojikere, and the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth and Gender Issues, Dr. Peter Osage. Sarah.
When you look at the snail speed at which these offenders are being convicted, I think that has made a lot of people not to buy into coming out to, to speak out. So what would you have to say to us this? Are there methods put in place or mechanisms put in place to ensure, swift conviction and all that?
Early convictions.
Yes.
Yeah.
On that, without having to want to slap anybody, most of our problems, truly speaking, always start with the police. Getting them to pushing out your case, to even getting it to Ministry of Justice. But if you are an organization who knows your onions, you would not just say because your matter has gotten to the police, you sit back and say it will go to court. You should make sure, like every other thing, that you follow your cases through. 1. 2, many a times, I won't call it a slow process. Many a times, this same, I never use the word victims for them, these same survivors are the same people who come out to cry blue mother, red mother. And then when you start the matter, you hear things like, "Now your pikin then do." Now you they involved. Then you now start saying that they don't even want to push forward. But the good part about it now is that at least there are dedicated courts, family courts, that now handles these cases. I have cases that are almost 6 years old in court. That's because we have been trying, okay, we get the police before your case even gets into court. Many times the IP of your case is transferred. So you can't be telling the police not to transfer a staff for any reason. So now that we have the police within the SAC center, we are sure that at least, give or take, maximum 2 weeks, our matters should be in court. And then getting the survivors in themselves to come and give evidence. Truth be said, if you take a survivor to make a report, as soon as it gets to court, try and ensure that the survivor gives evidence first, and the person can go. If you start to wait, as they are leaving you, they are breaking their SIM cards. I have many people I can't even follow up. We also preach, remove the child or remove yourself from the erring environment. Many times when they remove themselves from the erring environment, they never come back to tell you where they have moved to. So you cannot do a follow-up, you cannot trace. So it is not this slow snail speed that is actually happening. It is the fact that many a times everybody cannot be in the same place at the same time. Victims or survivors will tell you they do not have money to be coming to court, and you have to be doling out monies to come. You have to keep encouraging them so that at least you can have a smooth sailing all the way. But right now, at least we are getting early convictions. We are getting early convictions. It's no more like my PS said, business as usual, where you just do a case and you go back. I know how many cases Sothawaca has handled between the last time we gave a report and today. And First Lady is always on us. You must bring your reports. You must bring your reports. There are also groups where all of us who are doing issues on GBV cases, we always let us send in our report, because it is only your report that speaks for you.
Of course.
If you say you are a GBV person and they tell you bring your report, and you have nothing to show for it, then you are not a GBV person. So you must have your reports like a Bible, whether it is a good Bible or it is a bad Bible, but you must have it ready, because on the spur of the moment, they can call for your report. So we are all putting hands together, heads together to ensure that we get expedited actions once it gets to court. But at least now we have designated courts that are listening to our cases. Yes.
Honorable PS, there's this misconception. I'm sorry, I'm always talking about the misconception, because there's this misconception that, you know, for women, one of the reasons why they get sexual sexually assaulted is because of their indecent dressing. But what some persons forget to note, what happened to the young child that is assaulted? Would you also say it's because of the indecent dressing? So I want you to throw more lights on that.
Okay, it's whoever does that to anybody is a reflection of a sickness that needs to be cured. We have our children as young as 8 months, 9 months, being sexually assaulted, and that's very sad. So for me, I think I mentioned earlier, no reason is good enough. In a country where every boy, every girl, every child, every man, every woman has rights, you should just know that where your right stops, that's where the rights of another person begins. So you don't have any right whatsoever to infringe on another person's fundamental human rights. Yes, you can counsel, or what you're putting on is not looking too decent, but does that now make you a judge in that matter to the extent of assaulting? So there's not a reason good enough, and even it cannot be tendered in the court of law. Okay. You know, like Madam was saying earlier, the conviction rates are increasing because Edo State government is one of the few governments that are designated special courts for GBV issues. And that's what we're having. So whoever thinks he wants to take another person's liberty for granted should go ahead and face the consequence.
All right, we are gradually winding up. Madam, you are going to tell us some of the places to go to if these issues come up. You know, we just said a while ago that whoever that is being assaulted should speak up. You will tell us that. But before that, I want the Honorable PS to, give a word of admonition to the girl child, to the boy child, and to our women generally as we round up this session.
Okay, I want to say, if you see something, say something. If something happens to you, say something. And for our survivors, I want to let them understand that they still have the world ahead of them. They should not despair. They should not give up. They should just continue pushing. And if you are in Edo State, be rest assured that the Edo State government is standing solidly for you.
All right, Madam.
Yeah, we mentioned that we now have the Sexual Assault Referral Center. That is the #1 place to go to because, like we know, is a one-stop shop. One-stop shop in the sense that you have the SAC manager who is a medical doctor. You have the counselors there from the Ministry of Gender. We have FIDA there. We have the security agencies there. They are all present there. And we also have NGOs that are there. And the SAC Center is situated at #1 Coronation Drive. Coronation Drive is that little road that takes you from Golf Course Road straight down. Rather than going towards the vegetable market, you just go straight down where ETAT is. Coronation Drive is opposite, is very close to Ediale International Hospital and directly behind Motel Plaza. Okay. Then you have different NGOs that are into the work of GBV cases.
All right.
Then you have the police and you have the ministry.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time. Honorable Permanent Secretary, we are glad that you came for the program. Once again, I want to thank you. To our viewers out there, we can't thank you enough for always making our time to be with us on Edo Executive Platform. Once again, we'll be talking with Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Youth and Gender Issues, Dr. Peter Osage, and the initiator of Sothawaca, Ronke Ojikere. Thank you very much for coming. Sarah.
Just to add to it, if you see something, please do well to say something. Say no to gender-based violence. and may the good Lord continue to protect us. My name is Ingu Bosera. See you same time next week. Have a wonderful weekend ahead.
Felix Osagede remains my name. For us to have a society that we have always dreamt of, we must put our hands on deck to do away with GBV, gender-based violence. This program makes a repeat broadcast on Mondays at 2 p.m. All right, see you next week. Bye-bye.
This is EBS TV Reloaded.
Computer systems are offline.